I'm here with Bobby Brennan. We kind of met through Josh Lajani, Tim Kaufman, and has an incredible story and also a phenomenal bass player. And first of all, I just want to say, Bobby, thanks so much for taking the time. And maybe you could just start off with who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. It's really cool, and I just love this community of all of us on our own little journeys, and all the great stories we have. It's been really cool. Yeah, so my name is Bobby Brennan. I'm a bass player. I'm from New York, born and raised on Long Island, right outside New York City. I'm currently on tour right now with the Broadway show Cabaret. I'm in San Francisco as we do this interview. And yeah, I've been on this crazy weight loss journey and health journey that started about 10 years ago. And I reached the top weight of 503 pounds. And I woke up one day. Well, there were two things. I woke up the same day that my best friend had a talk with me. And I woke up feeling that if I don't do something different or change, that I'm going to die. I just didn't feel great. I didn't have any health issues. I was very, very lucky. Even at 500 pounds, I didn't have high blood pressure. I didn't have anything like that. But if I didn't make a change, that was going to happen. And a lot of worse things were going to happen, which I knew if I didn't make that change, I was heading towards that, demon, as you would say, or, just some bad things were going to happen if I didn't make changes. And that night at a performance in Indianapolis, my best friend Michael came up to me as a friend would and just said, "Man, what's going on?" And I knew exactly what he meant. And he didn't come up to me and, screaming and yelling and, "What are you doing? You're getting huge, man." He just sat me down as a friend would and said, "Hey, man, everybody loves you. And you got to make a change here. What can I do to help you?" And from that moment on, I never looked back. And it's always been this crazy journey. There's been some struggles, with weight going up and down. I didn't know how to balance things out. But it's, this, besides the health journey, it's also been a great learning experience as well. And so I had joined Weight Watchers, and I followed this and that, and I started exercise. And, when I was 500 pounds, I started exercise, and I couldn't walk, a quarter of a block without having severe pain and, severe back pain especially. It was tough. I had to stop, breathe, and then continue. Stop, breathe, continue. And, just puddling with sweat, and yeah, looking back at it now, it's crazy because I just came in from a run, and it's good to look back at that and remind yourself. As a matter of fact, I'm in San Francisco now, and the last time I was here where I had time to walk around, I was a lot bigger and I was unhealthier than I am now. And these streets, I don't know if you've ever been in San Francisco, these streets are serious, serious inclines.
Yeah, they're no joke.
Yeah, especially the ones that I'm near on California Street. I mean, the inclines are just intense. And I remember when I was here last, I had a hard time walking up these streets. And now I don't even think about it. I just go right up them. Either I'm running them or I just walking them up. No problem at all. So to think back, I love having these flashbacks of thinking back of when I wasn't healthy, which is pretty cool. And so then so going back, I joined Weight Watchers, and I did great with that. And I'm actually still a member of Weight Watchers, and I still go to meetings from time to time. And that led into working with a personal trainer and starting to do different types of workouts. And then I just found myself stuck again. And I was doing everything you could possibly do right. And Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, the documentary, had come out. And my best friend Michael, who had that talk with me, said, "Hey, man, I watched this documentary, Lee is his wife. And I couldn't think of anybody but you when I watched this. And I want you to watch this documentary." So I watched it, and I was blown away. Like, wow, man, this is so inspiring. So I just thought, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And that's what I did. I started off, I was in New York, and for some reason I didn't know the difference between a smoothie and a juice. So I got a NutriBullet, and I was drinking like 6 smoothies a day, and I was like, man, I feel so bloated. Like I felt like I was back to 500 pounds. I said, man, I don't know if this is going to work for me. And then I realized I was doing it wrong, and then I got a juicer. And at that time, I had moved. I went down to Tampa, Florida, because I was working on a new show that was actually coming back to New York for Broadway, but they were starting in Tampa for previews and rehearsals. So I had bought a juicer. I had it shipped to Tampa, and then once I got into Tampa, I remember it was the Monday after the Super Bowl I started. And I remember I was driving home that Sunday night during the Super Bowl, and I was like, man, I'm really hungry. Should I eat something like one last time? Should I have a slice of pizza? Should I do something just as one more treat? But I went right to bed, and it was probably the best thing I could have done. And I started juicing, and day one, I felt great. Day two, great. And then day three hit, and I thought I was dying. I felt like garbage. I felt like somebody beat me with a bat, and I could not get out of bed. And I was nervous. I was like, "Oh man, maybe I'm actually dying. I better read this book." I had the Joe Cross book, and I'm reading through it, and I'm looking at people's day threes. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. All these people almost died too, so this must be the normal thing." So I went to work. I played a show. I was just miserable. I was cold. I was sweating. I was just a mess. I was just detoxing. All these detox were coming out of me. And day four, I woke up and I felt like a superhero. It was just the weirdest and greatest feeling at the same time. And I hadn't worked out. I took off, but I went for a walk that day. And I just felt so good. I felt like I was seeing better than I ever seen. I was hearing better. And it just got better and better and better the longer I went on this journey. And then I just wrote it out the whole 60 days. And I started working out on day 10, still walking. And I think I didn't start running until my second 60 days of juicing that I did. Because I was just still trying to shred as much weight as I could so I wouldn't hurt my joints from running with too much weight on. So,
Wow. And that's all great. And I want to come back to that. But as far as, when you look back as a kid and, that journey to 500, do you kind of see some contributing factors? Was there, were you always a big child? Did you have some contributing family? Was there people around you that were big? Were there things that kind of happened that triggered thing? Like what do you see as the progression to 500 now that you can look back?
well, when I look back, I was always a chubby kid, man. I was like the cute, chubby New York kid that, like actually, for example, when I would get lost in stores, like department stores, and back then there were no cell phones or anything like that. And my parents always thought it was so funny because I always knew to go to a security officer or somebody that worked there. And my parents said every time we went to find you, someone already bought you a pretzel or a cookie or something because I was just like this cute. I look like the little kid from Up. You ever seen the movie Up? That was little Bobby Brennan, man, as a teen. When that movie came out, everybody was like, hey, you got to go see the movie, A Little Bobby Brennan.
Oh wow.
So as a kid, I always had a weight problem. I was always chubby. And I would say when it really got out of hand was when I started touring full time as a musician. 21, 22, 23 years old, around there. I was traveling all over the world with a band. And, after you perform, you're always hungry. And what's to eat? Fast food, Go eat fast food. I was eating fast food just about every night. I was drinking soda because I didn't want water. I hate water. I'll just drink soda. I remember having Pepsi bottles like up on stage and just drinking soda all the time, and or Coke products or Sprite, all that soda. And also, I wasn't exercising. I was just, you're a rock star, man. You don't even realize it. I felt great on stage. I didn't even realize I was becoming as big as I was. And So I would say that I know for a fact. I mean, it was the fast food, the lack of exercise, and the eating late at night and eating junk at night, and not eating the right foods is what got me to that level of to hitting 500 pounds.
Yeah, I think I saw you said that you got 90% of your diet was either fast food or soda. What are some because I know traveling full time, there's a lot of things that you can't necessarily control, and they also present themselves. And I also saw you talk a little bit about it. But what were some of the challenges of constantly traveling and being on the road, just from being a larger person? Some of the logistical issues that maybe were just difficulties that people who don't necessarily travel as much may not deal with or be aware
Well,
of.
like on the movie, in the film, remember I explained to you about how I'd always have to get like a seatbelt extension, and I mean I had to squeeze into those seats. You know, those seats are a little for regular sized people, and I
Right.
found a way to get that armrest down. You know, so I would like squeeze in, but and so it was difficult travel, and people don't want to sit next to big guys. You know what I mean? Like you'd always get that look. At least I did. And I remember one time I was on a flight and I was stuck in the seat, and the guy that came on the plane, there was the one seat left, and the guy that came on was like the size of Hulk Hogan. I mean, he was the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life, and us two were in these seats. And I remember telling him, I said, "Hey man, when the drinks come around, we'll take turns. I'll move my arm this way, and then you can." We both laughed at it. But flying was very difficult. Um, Trying to think what getting my bass up on and off stage became a pretty big hassle too. I remember always bending down, and I was always afraid to bend from the knees because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get up. It was scary, and so that was always an issue as well. And then also, like if you're out and you got to buy clothes, trying to find clothes stores that to get regular size clothes. I mean, well, bigger size clothes at that time. That was a challenge too, traveling a lot, on the road.
Yeah,
But
and sorry.
no, I was gonna say, but definitely the airport stuff was always. I mean, that one flight, I had to like sit in the back of the plane to like weigh it out because there was too much weight on one side, And not to say that I was the cause of all that, but it helped the flight actually. We were taking a little plane to the Bahamas or something.
And when your friend Michael, came to you and said, "Hey, look, I don't know what's going on. We all love you, we care about you, all that kind of stuff." How did you receive that? What was that like to hear it?
It was great, and I knew that they loved me. I just, I didn't realize all those people were worried about me, and that's when I knew. Well, I have to make this change because it wouldn't be fair to them if I just let myself go. And too many people loved me. A lot of people were scared to tell me. Now they tell me, "Say, man, Bobby, I look back, man, and I was scared to tell you because I didn't know how you would react to it. I was never one of those big guys. Like I never suffered from depression. I never had to take any kind of drugs for any kind of health illness. I was always a happy guy. I was always the fun guy, and I think they were afraid to, say something to me because they didn't want to hurt my feelings. But Michael handled it like the best way he possibly could. He just sat me down and just said, "What's going on here?" And I knew exactly what he was talking about because that morning I woke up and realized I got to make a change. This is not going to be good, and that's what I did. But it was kind of interesting how both things happened the same day.
Yeah, and then so that happens that day. What does the next day look like? What are the first couple of months? What do the first couple of months look like? Like once you decided to make a change, what changes did you make? What did that? What was your kind of plan of action?
Well, we got on the plane the next morning after having that talk, and we flew back to Orlando, Florida, and we got off the plane at like around 11 o'clock, and I went to Weight Watchers that afternoon, and I signed up, and I went to my first meeting, and I explained to the leader, what's going on, and basically, really from that moment on, I just kind of went straight forward and just went to the meetings, and still to this day, I just continued that journey. I never went back to my old habits. For instance, that next day, I hadn't, after that talk that I had with him, I never drank another soda ever again. It's been almost 11 years where I've drank nothing but water. This water and juice, man. This is all I drink. That's all I drink. I don't drink milk. I don't drink anything else. I think I've had maybe a few beers and maybe a couple glasses of wine in like the last 10 years. I just never was big into alcohol either. And but I haven't had a soda, man, in almost 11 years. I just quit that cold turkey, and I don't miss it.
And do you think a little bit of that is that, like, was there a level of addiction there, a level of I can't do it because I know where that leads, or is it just a matter of it's just a part of your life that you've written off and you have no interest in going there?
Yeah, it was two things. One, you eat so much fast food, and it's like I got to a point where I was eating so much fast food that if I had a Pepsi with my McDonald's, it was wrong. I had to have Taco Bell with my Pepsi. You know what I'm talking about? Like, how certain sodas go with certain foods. I knew when something was wrong here. I'm like, wait a minute, this is wrong. That's how my taste buds were, as
Yeah.
sadly as that is. But I always liked water. I was drinking water as well during that, but not enough of it. But no, I just decided I got to cut this sugar out. I remember my first year of changing my lifestyle. I quit soda, and then I quit anything white. I just stayed away from white stuff like potatoes and bread. Sweet potato. I ate all that stuff. Like this is what I was learning at the time. And now, like you more advanced, you learn about different foods that aren't bad for you that you thought were bad for you.
Right.
But at this time, I remember doing that, and just everything became, like the way Weight Watchers works, that thing, balanced meals. And I never did the point system. I just stayed away from junk and ate stuff that you were supposed to eat. But I was eating like processed stuff that I didn't know was junk at the time, like the Weight Watcher desserts and stuff like that,
Right.
well, this is only blah, blah, blah calories, and I'm due for a dessert now. I was trying to do everything, but I was dropping the weight, and feeling a lot better. So, but no, that next day, man, I just kind of went cold turkey and just said, that's it, man, no more soda for me. And just started chugging water and started exercising the day after. And it started with a block and then 2 blocks. And then before I knew it, I was walking like a couple of miles.
Yeah, I've heard of food and wine pairings, but I've never heard of fast food and drink pairings. Uh,
I always knew, man. I was like, we joke around about it now. Where I was just like, hey, man, do you ever drink a Pepsi with like a Big Mac? Like it would freak you out.
that's crazy. I saw somewhere, there was maybe it was on that movie that you produced about your story where, there's a lady who was speaking, about you, and she said, you were insanely committed. She remembers a time when you were the only guy showing up at a weight loss meeting. Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, I know things maybe have changed now as far as your frequency or what your day to day or your week to week looks like. But what was that like, kind of being in that place, or how did you keep yourself motivated, knowing that you weren't necessarily, like, you weren't surrounded by the same people. You were kind of in a way the minority.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like, do you mean like going to the meetings and like me being by myself sometimes, like nobody
Yeah,
being,
I get.
or
Well, I think I saw that you were the only guy at the meeting. Like it was all females, and
oh yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
I guess in my mind, what I think is that could be really intimidating. Being
Well, for
being an
me, it was
outsider.
like, because, I'm a flirt, man, I'm this like single guy. And so for me, I would joke around and, I got to become friends with them. So I'd always like, hello, ladies, let's do this, like joking around and stuff. And no, I actually loved it because I grew up with three sisters. And so I get women, man. I think they're awesome, and I think they're crazy at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, women are great people. So for me, going to these meetings and no, it was. I never really even thought of that. Sometimes I would think, like, man, are guys intimidated to come here? Do they
Yeah.
think Weight Watchers is just for women? You know, because at one point it really was like more women went, but now there's tons of men at these meetings as well. Now, you
Yeah,
know.
and I guess that's probably a better way of putting it is, just, I could see how the intimidation could be there.
Yeah, I
And
didn't care, man. I was there for me because I had to do what I had to do, and what was keeping me focused was working hard during the week and just hoping that scale went down some. And there were plenty of times where I would go and had a great week, and the scale wouldn't move at all or go up a pound, and I would just be like, okay, that's when I really learned like the body is just crazy. It's we're mostly water. You know what I mean? So it's like it's always fluctuating. But what motivated me to go to those meetings all the time was I knew I had to, and then my friend Michael. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better friend, and I had to check in with him once a week to make sure I was going to these, and to keep track. And or he'd call me, hey, how'd you make out this week? That's pretty cool, man, to have somebody like that to keep you, accountable and to keep you going. And still to this day, he's always checking up. Now I'm actually probably in better shape than he is.
that's awesome. So I know that, you had lost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
You decide to go, you recognize the plateau. I know I've talked to people who've had significant amounts of weight to lose that, when you have that much, there can be periods where, on one hand, you feel extremely proud and extremely grateful for the progress you've made, but also it can seem a little unsurmountable to keep going. How'd you keep yourself motivated, and how'd you kind of make a decision to say, okay, it's time to change things up. I've come a long way, but I'm still not where I want to be.
Yeah, I lost 100 pounds and I felt great. And what kept me going was how great I felt. And I just thought, well, man, if I lost 100 pounds, if I lose another 100, I might feel like a superhero. And sure enough, that's what kept me going. It's just that I felt good. And then I hit this plateau, and I said, okay, well, let me just start messing around with different things. I'm going to try this or I'm going to try that. Let me try measuring more of this food. I tried everything, and I couldn't get it to work. It would be like, oh, cool, I lost 3 pounds. And then the following week I gained 4, and then I lost 2. So it was just this constantly. And that's when my friend said, hey, man, he goes, I know you're working hard, but try this juice thing. Watch this documentary. I think this might be great for you, just to kind of break plateaus and see where it might be able to lead you. And that's really what led me to juicing, which juicing led me to this whole plant-based world, which I really wasn't that familiar with. And but basically what kept me going was how good I was feeling. And I just felt, well, you know what? If I feel this good, it can't get any worse. It's just going to get better. You know what I mean? And it has.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have, because I think sometimes, I mean, even for myself, you can, like, the plateau is such an easy place to count your victories, but also to get a little discouraged because you're not seeing any progress. But I think that's a unique way of looking at it, and a great motivator, a great self motivator. I think I saw you won $2,500 in a weight loss competition.
Yeah, man.
Where did that kind of fit in, and what was that about?
This is a really great story, man. This because it's part of the documentary how it all worked out. And what happened was, I started my first juice cleanse in Tampa, but I was living in Clearwater, Florida. They housed us in Clearwater, and I had joined Orange Theory Fitness in Orlando. It was like a pre-join, and you get a good rate. And it was funny because that I was walking in Orlando at this time at a festival, and I was like, man, I wish there was a gym where you could wear heart monitors, where they could calculate your calories and do training for your hearts. And all of a sudden I run into Orange Theory Fitness, and that's what they're about. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. So I joined. So I'm living in Clearwater, and they had just opened one up in Clearwater. So I said, perfect. So I went down there and I said, hey, I'm a member in Orlando, but I'm here for a couple of months. Is it possible that I could just use this gym? And they're like, yeah, of course. So a couple of weeks in with my juice cleanse, I didn't tell them I was juicing. I was doing my workouts and feeling good. And at the time, I was just walking on a treadmill. I hadn't begun running. So they had a weight loss challenge. It was their first weight loss challenge because the gym had just opened. And whenever a new Orange Theory opens, they do a big weight loss challenge for $2,500, which is for both men and women combined. So they asked me if I'd like to join. I said, well, I had to share with them what I was doing. I said, well, I'm juicing right now. So I'm not, eating. I'm just juicing and doing plant protein shakes. And they said, no, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Just as long as you're losing weight, I said, you sure? You're like, yeah. I said, okay. So I entered the contest, and I was just like dropping. I was averaging like 6 pounds a week, just dropping and dropping, and I kept on looking to see who's in the lead, and I'm like always in the lead. But they're going by percentage. So women could lose 6 pounds and beat me if I dropped even 25 pounds, So I said, man, it's getting real. I said, $2,500, that'd be really great to win, and I could use that money because at this time I'm starting to get smaller. I'm like, I'm going to need a whole new wardrobe, man. This is going to be crazy. So it was a 6-week contest, and I ended up losing 42 pounds in those 6 weeks, which was crazy. I remember the last day of this contest, it was like day 42 for me. No, what was it? No, it was day 60. Day 59. And then the day of it was day 59 that the contest ended, and day 60 of my juice cleanse was the party to reveal who won. And also at day 60, the show I was playing in Tampa, playing bass for, was my 100th show. So all this stuff lined up with no idea that it was going to work out this way, which was kind of funny, So I remember the last day, I was like, well, this girl has lost a lot of weight, and I need a big number here. So I remember I drank very, very little water, like they say you're supposed to, like for weigh-ins, like for people that compete or something. And so I did my research on it, and I went to a sauna at the YMCA, and I sat in there for like an hour, and I just drenched all the sweat out. Then I took class, and I couldn't believe I got through it too. And I got through class, and then I think I went and weighed myself, and I had in like 4 or 5 days I'd lost 11 pounds to win this contest, because I'm like, I'm winning this thing, man, So I'd lost 11 pounds, and I was kind of shocked by that. I was like, are you serious, And I felt great after all this. Now, I haven't eaten a solid piece of food in 60 days, or 59 days. It would be 60 days at the end of that. It was day 60, and I remember weighing in and feeling great. But I also remember I guzzled a gallon of water. I mean, I just chugged it. And I was like, man, I was thirsty, because I wasn't drinking any water prior to the weigh-in. And then I ended up winning the $2,500, which was really, really cool. And then, and it just motivated me. I just kept going. And then I did another juice cleanse right after that. I did a couple of months of clean eating. I was still eating meat at the time because I wasn't that aware of like fully plant-based. And I think I was kind of following what Joe Cross did. He was eating chicken and fish and stuff like that. And then in July, a few months later, I decided, all right, well, I'm going to do another one now. And now I'm going to document this whole 60 days, which I did. And so it worked out great.
Yeah, well, let this serve as a warning. Anyone out there, do not challenge Bobby Brennan to a competition because you will lose. So a question for you. I saw somewhere that you even carry, you always travel with juice, and you even carry a doctor's note to be able to bring your juices on a plane. I just want to know what that conversation with TSA looks like.
It was interesting. It was really funny, but he was really, really cool. And the reason he was cool is because his brother-in-law had done a juice fast, and he was trying to get him to do it. This guy was a little bit overweight, And I said to him, I said, hey, man, I think I was on day 52 or something like that. And I was like, hey, I'm almost done and I have to take these with me. I said, I got a doctor's note. Here's my before picture, and I remember my license. I looked nothing like my license at the time too, which was kind of funny. I said, man, is there any way? I said, this is just, it's for medical reasons that I'm on this huge, I kind of BS'd them. I'm like on this huge study with this board and, it's up to you guys, but I'm telling you, it's just juice. I swear to you. I said, I'll drink one here just to show you. And he said, no, I believe you because I know all about this. My brother-in-law. So they just inspected it and then they let me through. I don't know if they would do it anymore now just because, security might be a little bit more tighter, but sometimes they're cool. But I haven't tried it, and I won't try it anymore because of the. I would hate to have to throw it out because that would bug me because that's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. Well, now there's going to be an influx of people going to airports,
Yeah,
telling them they're on a study and whatnot.
exactly.
So, I know that you've obviously lost a ton of weight. Anything, through the process that you weren't necessarily expecting, physically, socially, emotionally, that looking back has kind of surprised you as you've been on this journey?
Um, I'm surprised I could run. I'm really surprised that I'm surprised I've become an athlete. I've always wanted to be an athlete, and when I ran those 13 miles, that was the day where I was like, you know what? I am an athlete. Because I would always be like, always saying, even after losing 270 pounds, I'd say like, man, when I'm an athlete, what I want to do, and people would always have to remind me like, man, you are an athlete. People can't do this. The average person can't do what you're doing. And I think in my head, like, yeah, anybody could do this. And yeah, anybody could train to do that because I couldn't do that right away, just like you couldn't do that right away, or Josh or Tim. It's a journey. But yeah, I'm actually surprised I could run. I never thought I'd be able to run. I never thought I would enjoy running. I'd always think like, oh, I don't know how people do that. But you get into that zone where you don't even think about it. And the important thing throughout this whole journey, which I've been so good at, is I listen to my body. The minute something hurts, the minute something feels wrong, I stop. There's been plenty of times where I've gone on runs and I'm like, especially here actually in San Francisco, I said, man, my knee is really acting weird. And I read a whole thing, about runners here in San Francisco talking about, going downhill and stuff. And so I had to change certain things with that, to stay safe. But my biggest, I would say, become knowing that I could run now. Like I never thought I'd be able to do that. And looking back, struggling walking a block, and then looking now where I could just run miles. It's pretty amazing. It really is. Like how, and then I see my friends like you and Josh, like running 30 miles and 8 miles and that, it's beautiful, man. It motivates me, and everybody's on their own journey too. And actually, one of the best things I learned too is looking back at my journey and watching me grow in it and learning what I've learned. I also learned that, I used to walk the streets and I would say hello to somebody and somebody wouldn't say hi back. And, I'd always, New York would come out at me like, well, the hell with them, you know what I mean? And, but I realized that everyone's on their own journey, regardless to whatever it is, and I learned that. And I try to treat people now, like if people, you go to some place, people are rude. I used to be like, get really angry about it. And now I just think like, okay, man, they're going through something. So I'm not going to get all nasty back with them. I mean, sometimes I do, like if it's a little out of hand, you know what I mean? It's in my blood, But I realize that everyone's on their own journey, regardless to whatever it is that they're doing, and everyone has their own story, and as so that's something I learned too. Not just, it's pretty cool to see everyone do, especially when you're like, I'm sure you get this too, when you go out for runs and you see the same people every day running by you, and you high five each other or whatever. It's I love stuff like that too. And I remember when I first started my journey, struggling just walking. I remember people saying, "Keep it up, keep it up." And now I'm telling people the same thing that I see that remind me of me back when I first started.
Yeah, that's awesome. If I'm running on the street, people usually look at me like, "Is your car broken down or something? Like, what's going on? It's 100 degrees out here. Why are you out on the street?"
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I was in New Orleans, man. I got up. I was running at like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock because it was hot. Even in April, it would get hot, you know. And but I remember leaving early, running 100 degrees, man. Yeah, I did that in Vegas, and I did it for like 4 days, and I was like, man, that's enough for me. I got to take a break from this.
Yeah, it's no
Vegas is not a friendly city to run in either. It was
no,
dangerous.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's no joke. Both places. So I know we were chatting earlier, kind of before I started recording, but what life or physical goals, if you look a year down the road, 6 months down the road, 5 years down the road, what are you looking forward to? What are you looking towards?
I want to. My next goal is to get below 200 pounds. So, when you're on tour, I'm kind of starting to figure it out. Like it's taken me some months to figure out, like, okay, how can I do this? The exercise is no problem. It was just the diet, and I bought a skillet now, so like I'm cooking in my hotel rooms. I'm setting off fire alarms, So sometimes it's a little bit of a hassle, but I noticed in California it's very, very easy because it's so vegan and so plant-based friendly here. So you could find anything, and I'm having a lot of success here, which is good. I'm noticing the scales going down. Prior to that, I was like up and down and up and down and up and down. But so I'm hoping to get below 200 pounds. I'd love to do that before my half marathon. So we'll take it, but I'm not in a rush. This is a journey, and I'm not trying to rush anything because I don't need to do that. This is a learning process. So that's one goal. I want to kind of get out and date more. That's a second goal, and just to continue growing as a musician. Music is my first love, and I'd like to eventually, like what I did for Joe Cross last year, which was really fun, was I was a guest at his camp reboot, and there's 200, 300 juices there that came, and I got to share my story. And as I told them my story, I'm playing my bass the whole time, telling my journey. And then I thought of something, I'm like, wow, this might be kind of cool to start something different, to explain my journey at different events while playing the bass. Because one thing I noticed that playing the bass at 500 pounds and then losing all this weight and playing the bass where you're much healthier, that you really get the true love out of something, the true passion out of something you love while you're healthy. Because I've been non-healthy and I've been healthy playing music, and boy, it's so much better when you're healthier. Not to say it's not good when you're unhealthy, because it was fun, but it's a whole different level of enjoyment when you're healthier.
Wow. Yeah, and so if you could go back, or rather, if you could tell somebody now and kind of put yourself in the mindset of whenever you were bigger, and you could give them some advice, that you think might help them to get started on the journey, some encouragement, what would that advice be to somebody who's looking to change their life today or tomorrow?
I would tell them to stay focused and stay positive, because you're going to hit a lot of rough spots, but that's part of the journey. That's what makes you a stronger person. Get into a support group, meet other people that are trying to do the same thing you're doing, and tell your family and tell your friends, because you get that support. It's a beautiful thing. I post something on Facebook about what I've done or a journey, and next thing you know, you have all these hundreds of messages that I just want to let you know. My husband and I have lost 20 pounds because of you and your posts, and you have no idea who you're motivating or influencing, but share your story with people, and it helps you. It keeps you accountable too. Next thing I have about 4,000 people following my journey around the world, and it's like, man, it's a beautiful thing. That's what keeps me going. So I would say just to stay focused and stay positive, and slow and steady wins the race. Don't rush this. I have so many people I see I love my friends. Like some of them will go, oh, you know what? I'm going to do a 60-day juice cleanse, because then I could think that I'll be down 50, 60 pounds. And I say to them, I said, man, you'd be lucky if you get through 12 hours, man. I said, you're not ready there. It took me like a good 4 weeks to mentally get ready to do that. That's a hard thing to do, man. It's not an easy thing to do. But I had the support of loved ones and friends, and I think that's important. So I would definitely tell people that, and I actually tell people that. I just had a guy contact me on Facebook the other day about that, like what helped you? And, love, man, love and support and from friends and even friends I never met you, I haven't met Tim, and I haven't met Josh, but gosh, man, your posts and stories inspire me, and vice versa. I know Tim and Josh love what I'm doing, and it's all about, we're all in it together, you know what I mean? And that's why I love these support groups, find out, get with people that are doing the same thing that you're trying to do or want to do, depending on where you are with this journey. But it's a great thing, man,
Yeah, it's a beautiful time that we live in that even digitally, without ever meeting or sitting in the same room together,
Yeah,
that we can encourage each other and share. And what an incredible time.
it really is. I've met people on this tour, fellow juices, and I've never met in person till now. But I felt like I knew them so much just through Facebook and social media. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing, and these support groups are pretty cool too. They're
Yeah.
all these great things that they have for people that you know. You got to take advantage of stuff like that. It helps, man. They're just little tools.
Yeah. And so if you could go back in time, at some point before your friend Michael came to you and before you woke up that morning and give yourself some advice that you think maybe would have nudged you or resonated to get started earlier, what would you go back and tell your 503-pound self?
I kind of wish. Like, what do you mean? Like, what would have I have done differently, or
No, no, no. If you could just have a conversation with that person,
with the
and
five? Yeah,
yeah, right, and you could say some words of encouragement to the former
I would say,
yourself.
hey, man. It's so funny because it's hard to think because it's like that 500-pound person was really happy, like this guy. Um, but I would say to him, hey, man, drop the weight, get healthier because you'll be even happier. And I am, you know. I would say yeah, just do it, man. You want to be happier than you already are because there's a way that you can be, you know. And does that explain it? Like,
Yeah, no, that's great.
yeah,
That's
cool.
great.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, I'd
Awesome.
say, hey, man, you're happy, but you want to be happier. Do this.
Yeah, and I
You
don't
know.
think I actually ever. So I know you said you were 503 in total. What are you
Yeah,
down to now?
I'm down. I just weighed myself down. I'm down to 268.
Okay, wow.
And I think the lowest I got was like 256 or something like that.
Okay.
I have to look back. I kept like I kept like a little journal, you know. Um, so yeah, so I'd like to get, my goal. I want to just get on the scale once for it to say one something, and I know I'll get there, and just to maintain something, wherever I don't know what it'll be like, with putting muscle on. I have no idea what my body is going to look like when I get to a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think of it that way. I just think of it as that I'm just doing what I'm doing and just getting healthier and healthier, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, like you said, slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, exactly.
And lastly, where can people find out more about you, what you're doing, and connect with you?
They can visit my Fat Guy Drinks Juice page on Facebook. And I'll occasionally, if you want to, you could share the link that I shared with you, because it's basically I have it set on a private, and whoever gets the link could watch it. It's just because of some of the music on there is I don't want to piss Bruce Springsteen off, even though I think he would really dig this, But I'm not making money on this. It's just for motivation to inspire others. So that's why it's not out in the public. the 1 minute one is, and the reason I made a minute version one of that is of the documentary. It's because people are very busy nowadays too, and they don't have time to sit down and watch even 23 minutes. So I say, well, the minute sometimes catches people's attention, like, oh, this looks interesting,
Yeah.
and they watch that. But yeah, the Fat Guy Drinks Juice is the best way of reaching me on Facebook. So they could visit that page and like the page, and I update it pretty often.
Awesome.
Different posts.
Well, I'll include all of that. And Bobby, thanks for the time. Thanks for
Yeah, thank
your
you.
inspiration and for sharing your story. And look forward to hearing and seeing everything you're doing. And I hope that sooner or later that you make it down to New Orleans. I'll drive down, and you, Josh, and I'll run on St. Charles Street together.
Yeah, that would be really something, man. It'd be fun to run with you guys. That'd be really, really great. So,
Right
but
on.
yeah, man, thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it. All right,
Yeah,
enjoy that San Francisco weather.
thank you so much. All right,
Take
man.
care.
Bye bye.